All right, good morning, everybody. It's 11:30. We'll go ahead and get started with the pre-commission agenda. I don't have a president's report other than to say welcome back. Hope everybody had a good couple of weeks off of commission meetings and had a good Thanksgiving holiday. Are there any general, I'll also mention that we have Commissioner Goldthorpe and Commissioner McKinney online right now, and then Commissioner Pickering will join us at noon for the regular meeting. Are there any general housekeeping items or discussion of the agenda from the commission? All right, seeing none, we'll just head right over to the director's report. Director Head.
Thank you, Madam President, Commission. We are so grateful for the opportunity today to present. In light of the Thanksgiving holiday, we just want to tell you on behalf of the team, thank you. We know that we love doing what we do, but we know we can't do it without your leadership and your support. And so thank you for what you do and the sacrifices that you make in your service. It's an exciting day today with the CIP up for consideration. We're always excited for the opportunity to build infrastructure for the public and make sure that people are able to get around. We wanted to announce the winners of our Name a Plow contest. This is such a fun opportunity to coordinate with the public. We had the winner. Go ahead and hit the video. We've got a.
Are you ready for it?
No. You can never go wrong with a Taylor Swift song, but nor a Taylor Swift reference, apparently, with Taylor Drift being the winner from the public, as well as Snowzuka being the winner from the staff recommended name. So we're excited to get those vehicles out there and get to work. One of the things that came up as we worked together with the city of Nampa on the USTIC widening project for the section that we share a boundary with them, is the incorporation of our work and the signal at USTIC and Owyhee Storm. Originally, the contractor came in and said that they were going to close the signal, and that was going to happen until May, and it was going to happen the next week. And we said, wait a second, that's not going to work. We looked at this and quickly found that there was an opportunity for a temporary road that would allow for the signal to be closed, but also the students still to be able to get to Owyhee High School. That temporary road connects them really close to the driveway there, and they're able to continue to get around, get to where they need to go, as well as all of those who will be moving in that area will have a way to connect up to the facilities there on Owyhee Storm. This also is important as the city of Meridian is working on opening a fire station in that area as well. And so this is making sure that we're working together with all these partners is important. There's a lot of construction work happening. I actually have a number of different updates on different closures that are happening, but these are really focused on the infrastructure that we're building so we can get it done faster and get things done for the public. We wanted to say thank you today for a few of our team members, as well as the team loves doing this, but we had some team members in the holiday parade over the weekend in the city of Boise, had the Meridian and Cunawan coming up this week. The team goes out there and loves to wave and just be present in the community, so the community is able to see those things that we work on. So thank you to Tyrone, Edgar, and Danielle for their willingness to serve in this way. Just another update from a safety perspective. We got a quick video here.
Hey, I'm Sam Rowe. I'm a traffic engineer with the Ada County Highway District. Did you know it's prohibited by Idaho code to park within 30 feet of a stop sign or within 20 feet of a crosswalk? This even includes unmarked crosswalks, which is defined as any location where we have sidewalk on one or more corner of an intersection. These parking restrictions are in place to ensure visibility of features like crosswalks and stop signs, and to ensure the intersection is kept clear for emergency services vehicles.
I should have mentioned on the first video, and no one called it out, but Chippy is back. We're very happy to have Chippy back and representing the area, watching all of our projects go. But this is an important update. We think having good information out to the public is important. One of the things that we received some information yesterday from the North End as we are preparing for a meeting next week. One of their concerns was people parking too close to the intersection and how that impacts safety. I think this is a timely message to really remind people how important that is, to make sure that there's good visibility at intersections by parking away from those. And we'll continue to look at how do we work with the police to enforce that. Continue to make good progress. Just in month 2 of our crack seal, we are at 42% complete. We're so grateful for our grade crews, both at Cloverdale and Adams, who are working hard on this. They're 42% through. That's a lot of miles. This is in preparation for our chip seal next year. It's the first phase of that process, making sure that what we seal over with the chips is sealed so that water's not getting down into the subsurface and degrading the road faster. So grateful for how quickly they're making progress there. So a couple project updates. USTIC 10 Mile to Linder. This is one of our major capital construction projects this year. This is the 5 Mile Creek runs adjacent to the road here for about half of it, which sits quite a bit below the roadway. We're having to build a retaining wall in that, and so it was important to, over this time period, to close that, make sure that people are able to work safely in the canal, especially during the time that the water's out, while also being able to move safely around in this area. And so that is closed, but we're excited to see that project moving forward, making good progress. This, in connection with the other work that's being done on USTIC, will really open that up, and the future connection to State Highway 16. We also have a closure out on Hubbard. This is between 10 Mile and Linder. This is for a maintenance project that's going on in this area. There's some reconstruction and other things that are happening there. But this closure is set to last up until summer of next year as we work through that. And you see the detour routes there. The other place that we have a major closure, these are all big roads that we're working on, and we're grateful to be able to get them done and get them done quickly. This is Linder Road between Highway 44 and Floating Feather. There are 2 canals that run underneath this, so it's really 2 bridges that we're replacing right now, and so obviously you can't have a road open while the bridge is being replaced. So we're working through that, but we've worked hard to make sure that the adjacent roads are open and working for the citizens in this area. But so grateful for the team working hard on this, and this is expected to be closed until early 2026. So another video.
Have you ever wondered why some grates are colored blue? Well, I'll give you a hint. It has something to do with the trees and the stormwater in the gutters. For What Is It Wednesday, we are going to be talking about stormwater tree cells. My name is Shannon Ghost, and I am the Green Stormwater Infrastructure Specialist at ACHD. Underneath my feet is a stormwater tree cell system. Underneath the sidewalk is large plastic grates filled with uncompacted soil. That soil allows space for our street trees' roots to spread and promote healthy, large growing trees. When it rains, stormwater from the road enters into the gutter, flows down the gutter and into the inlet. From there, it enters into the stormwater tree cell system through a pipe that runs the length of the tree cell system. The water slowly releases from that pipe into the soil. From there, the tree roots, the soil, and the microbes living in the soil work together to eliminate and remove pollutants within the system. We paint the grates blue as an indicator for our maintenance team. When they come out to clean our inlets, to remove all the debris, the trash, and the leaves, they have to clean it differently and be more careful to not damage the pipes or tree cell system. Stormwater tree cell systems are a great tool to use to green up and clean up urban areas. And that is your What Is It Wednesday.
I love these little videos because when I first started watching, I'm like, wait, we have blue ones? I didn't even know that either. So it's so great, but really, in an urban environment, this tool is a really effective tool to make sure that the water that gets back into the aquifer is cleaned up in a way that we, in more suburban areas, that we do through basins, through ponds that just don't make sense in an urban area. So we're grateful for this tool and for the work that Shannon does to really make sure that those are operating well and actually accomplishing. If you ever want a really good science lesson, I invite you to take a ride with Shannon. She is very smart, and I learned all about microbes and dirt and plants and other things. So it's a great opportunity to share that wonderful knowledge with the public. We continue our work in the river. We last presented on the Americana Bridge and the work that was happening there. We now, and I believe the Fairview Bridge, we've now moved down to Capitol. We're continue to reinforce these for high water flows and other things that happen during this time. It's nice to be able to get in when it's lower and make sure that those piers are reinforced and aren't being undercut when the water starts rising and the river moves faster. So grateful for our team for that hard work. It is definitely hard work. They love playing in the river, but it's definitely hard work, and we're making sure that we work through that well with all of our partners. Officially today, and this week, we will have no one left in this building. We have this meeting today and one more meeting next week, and then we will be closing up shop, shutting things down, getting it ready for the future sale of that. And so we are so excited to all be in one place. Our official headquarters now, we are directing people to there. We are grateful for the wonderful blessing this building has been and all it has done. And you get a little emotional sometimes. You think about the things that we've been able to do here, but we are really excited about what we've been able to do at our new building, and that, really wonderful investment that we've been able to make for the public at a discount in a way that we can save money for the public long term and really be able to grow there. And we will be having an open house there in our first meeting in January, right after our first commission meeting that day. Just a quick overview over the next 2 months. We do have the Eckert Bridge Public Involvement Meeting at Barber Park Education Center scheduled for Tuesday. Next week is our last commission meeting. We will invite the commissioners to have lunch with our leadership ACHD, do a meet and greet there with them, and let them learn from your experience. That is also the night of that NENA board meeting that we've been invited to talk about safety in that area. We have our annual holiday gathering for the team at noon on Thursday. This will be at the Meeker site, and we'd love to have you join us. There'll be food and prizes, and that have been donated. We're grateful to be able to do that. And then there is a Barber Valley neighborhood meeting coming up. We won't have any more commission meetings for the rest of the month. And then our first commission meeting at the new headquarters will be on January 7th. We'll have our open house afterwards, and then our neighborhood in the know also there, so we can invite the neighborhood also in to come and see. We have our joint meeting scheduled on the 13th of next month, as well as another TOC tour. So grateful for all these opportunities, and that is what is coming up. With that, Commission, I will stand for any questions.
Great, thanks, Director. Are there any questions? All right, don't see any. Well, thanks for the update and report, and we'll be at ease until 12 o'clock.
Thank you.
Test 1, 2.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. It's now 12 o'clock. I will call the meeting to order. Thanks to everybody joining us in person and online today, and please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And just a note for folks, we've got Commissioner Nelson and I here in person, and then the rest of the commissioners are online. So before adopting the agenda, I want to note for the record that after posting the agenda and materials for today's public hearing on the capital improvement plan and the impact fee ordinance, staff identified 2 clerical errors in the supporting documents. The first clerical error was discovered more than 24 hours before this hearing and was related to the calculation and classification of pre-existing deficiencies. Those materials were corrected and reposted at that time. A second clerical error was discovered within 24 hours of this hearing. This correction involved a project that had been mistakenly listed in the wrong impact fee service area within the draft CIP. The correction simply places the project into its proper geographic service area. The corrected materials and all updated documents are available to the public today. I recommend that Commission accept the corrected materials as the official materials for today's hearing and would ask for a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
I'll make a motion to adopt the amended agenda.
There's a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up is the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a commissioner or citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. All consent agenda items are commission action items unless noted. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Nielsen.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that the consent agenda represents. And I just want to thank the staff for that. And having gone through it all, I am ready to make a motion that we adopt the consent agenda items as presented.
Okay, thank you. There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Commissioner, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, sure.
Item
Item
Oh, sorry.
11, we had asked that to be remanded back.
Yeah, I'll amend my motion
Thank
that
you.
we remand consent agenda item 11 to staff.
Okay, so
I'll second that.
thank you.
Thanks.
All right, a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda except for on the item 11 to remand that item to staff indefinitely. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, that moves us to the regular agenda. We've got one item on the regular agenda. It's ordinance 254/254A, capital improvement plan and impact fee update. This is a request for adoption and public hearing. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing and welcome Edmondson.
Thank you, Commission. Good afternoon. My name is Enzo Bautista, ACHD Senior Transportation Planner and Co-Manager for the 2025 ACHD Impact Fee and Capital Improvement Plan Update. Presenting with me today will be Megan Anderson, ACHD Impact Fee Administrator and Co-Manager for this update. In today's meeting, staff will present the 2025 Impact Fee and Capital Improvement Plan Update, including an overview of the major tasks completed, a summary of the outreach done, the update of the traffic impact fee schedule, the physical implications, and finally, the alternatives prepared for today's adoption hearing. Because this is an adoption of an ordinance, Commission, staff wants to remind you that a supermajority vote is needed for this adoption. Staff, working with Kittles and Associates, completed the update of the Impact Fee and Capital Improvement Plan through a best practice review analysis of existing and projected transportation needs over a 20-year horizon, updated cost estimates, and calculation of impact fee schedule. The process developed and refined project list and cost estimate, which informed the draft impact fee schedule. A draft impact fee and capital improvement plan update was released for public review and adjusted based on the feedback received from the public, stakeholders, and the commission. As part of this update, and consistent with Idaho Code 678205, staff developed the draft ordinance in close coordination with the Capital Investment Citizen Advisory Committee. At different points throughout this update, staff also presented updates to key stakeholders, advisory committees, and partner agencies. In September, a draft was released to the public, which themes and summaries were presented to the Commission back in November in the pre-adoption work session. Just as a reminder, the feedback received in regards to the service area model presented was mixed. Finally, consistent with Idaho Code 678206, a public hearing was published in the Idaho Press legal notice to inform the public about today's public hearing. As part of this process, in an effort to inform our partner agency, the 6 cities and the county, Justin Lucas presented an update to each of the cities and the county during the month of September and October. Ahead of today's meeting, 3 jurisdictions submitted a formal letter providing their feedback on the September draft impact fee schedule and capital improvement plan. And with this, I will give the time to Megan Anderson.
Through the CIP update, a new total project cost was calculated for the 20-year CIP planning horizon. So you can see that in the top table on this slide. The total project costs that were identified is $1.82 billion, and of that cost, $1.2 billion is impact fee eligible costs over the next 20-year horizon. And then that bottom table shows you some of the proposed impact fees for a few of our more common land use categories. In the middle column, you can see the Ordinance 254, which would be the single service area model, and the fees related to that ordinance for those common categories. And then on the far side for Ordinance 254A, you see the west service area and east service area for each of those same categories to compare. Both of the ordinance options, either 254 or 254A, reflect the same impact fee eligible components, which are consistent with the current adopted 2022 CIP, the Ordinance 246A, which is what's currently in place. And the service area model is the only difference between these two ordinance options. And this does reflect the clerical corrections that have been made. These are the updated fees for these land use categories. We want to point out the policy implications. These would be true for either Ordinance 254 or 254A. In the ordinance, we are committing to update the CIP at least every 4 years, and more frequent updates can be completed. And by law, the ordinance can't take effect for at least 30 days after it is adopted and approved. But with both Ordinance 254 or 254A, we've actually put in a date of March 1st, 2026 to just allow some more time to transition to the new ordinance. And the new impact fees will be part of the ACHD policy manual. And then on the last slide here, we just have the decisions that we're presenting to the commission. So the first alternative would be to adopt Ordinance 254A, which would reflect the single county-wide service area, which is consistent with the current ordinance we have adopted. Or the other alternative is to adopt Ordinance 254A, which has the 2 distinct service area options. And with that, we will stand for any questions.
Are there any questions? Okay, thanks. Seeing none, we will go over to public comment now. I'll just say for housekeeping on this, please, once we call your name, please come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes for your comment.
Thank you. We'll call up Eric Steingruber And our timer is not working, so I'm going to be doing it on my own. So.
Madam President, Commissioners, my name is Eric Steingruber. My address is 5925 North Flat Tail Way in Meridian. And I appreciate very much the opportunity to make this comment. I have lived in Meridian at this location for almost 20 years and been very pleased to be here. We are on the western edge of the city before the crisis, and the crisis derailed everything for a decade. And then now we see the results of the renewed growth. And we appreciate the efforts the ACHD and all of the agencies have made to try to make this new growth better than it was maybe in the previous effort, pre-2007. My background, almost 30 years as a commercial banker, almost 6 years as a finance manager for a major home builder here, post-crisis through the slow time and then into the heavy time. And now I am a land acquisition manager for a local home builder, Pacific Lifestyle Homes. My background is in economics. Very concerned about the disposition of these impact fees. We all want more affordable housing. We recognize that between the political realities, the geography, and the will of the outside world on our area, that those prices are going up regardless. And we are more than willing to accept our piece of the cost of growth. What we are concerned about are that that if we have this fee increase, that the fee increase represents not only the additional need necessary to support the growth, but the rebuilding of the existing, which it appears that conflicts with state law. And so I'd really like it if the commission would investigate that and comment on that and make that distinction about what their position is related to the state law on the rebuilding of, let's say we go from 2 lanes to 5 lanes. Those 2 lanes have to be rebuilt, but it's really more of a general fund requirement, not impact fund for those 2 lanes. So, and then secondly, the separation of the county into 2 pieces probably will result in a disproportionate cost. And I think we see that in the illustrations. And there are probably ramifications that are not even noted yet, related to cost, the reality of housing. So my time is up and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Next, we have Ken Burgess.
Good afternoon, President Gold and Commissioners. My name is Ken Burgess. My address is 3202 South Varden Way in Boise. I am here today representing the Building Contractors Association of Southwest Idaho. And I know that throughout this process, you've received some written comments from our president, Clayton Connor, on the whole process. First of all, I want to thank the ACHD staff for working with us and doing all the outreach that they have done. And I think we've gotten into a better place than, frankly, the sticker shock that we saw in the first proposal. A couple things I still want to, I think, still need to be said, however, is we do still remain skeptical of the 2-zone concept. It appears, at least the way it is at the moment, that the line is arbitrarily drawn. It does put the ACHD Commission in a position of, in some ways, picking winners and losers in that regard. And we would much prefer a countywide zone. However, if you were to pursue the idea of creating zones, it might be actually more beneficial to create multiple zones, like 10 or 12 of them, so that you have more of a hyper-local type of a collection and spending of those development impact fees in those areas where the impact is actually occurring. And so we wanted to point that out. We also remain pretty steadfast in our belief, as the previous speaker said, that the concept of utilizing development impact fees to rebuild currently existing infrastructure should not be allowed. And in fact, we believe that the state law says that it should not be allowed. And so we want to make that point as well. And then finally, I just want to point out that as home builders, our members are not unilaterally opposed to impact fees. We recognize that it's a necessary part of building the infrastructure that's necessary to help us be able to build homes for people. It's just a question of ultimately what is reasonable, what is fair, making sure that it's proportional to if in fact the impact of that development, and that there be a clear nexus between that development and the projects that are being funded with the impact fees, and not necessarily be used as some sort of a quote revenue patch for projects that need to be completed. This should be done by general fund money. And so, Madam President and Commissioners, I thank you for the time. Thank you again for the work and involving our organization in helping to work through this. And we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Madam President.
Commissioner Pickering.
Yeah, thank you both for coming up and sharing your guys' comment with us. I just want to clarify in case for the public as well that, you know, we approved not including existing infrastructure in both of these ordinances. So I just want to make sure that that's clear, that including the existing infrastructure is not on the table today. But I do appreciate you guys elevating that is still a concern for you. But just in case other folks that want to testify want to bring that up, that is not all that's on the table today, unless there's 4 votes that want to change that. Course correction.
And Madam President and Commission, I was made aware of that just 5 minutes before the meeting started, and we thank you for taking that position.
Yeah, thanks, Commissioner Pickering. Yeah, the drafts that have been prepared do not reflect rebuilding existing infrastructure with impact fees.
Next on the list, we have Cameron Kinzer. Thank you.
Madam President, Commissioners, my name is Cameron Kinzer. I live at 4344 North Ferris Street in Boise. I am the Government Affairs Director of Boise Regional Realtors, and on behalf of our nearly 6,000 Realtor members who live and work in Ada County, we thank you for the opportunity to comment on Ada County Highway District's proposed development impact fee schedule update. Ada County has been in a prolonged housing affordability crisis for several years. We've watched prices climb faster than wages and inventory continue to lag behind demand. In this environment, every policy decision, especially those that directly add costs to new constructions, has a measurable impact on whether families can afford to live here. As elected officials, it is critical to remain hyper aware that even well-intended changes can ripple through the housing market, affecting both price and availability. Additionally, the proposed 2-zone fee structure is drawn widespread criticism. Dividing Ada County into separate fee areas creates inequities in the market, picks winners and losers by geographic line, and complicates long-term planning for both builders and home buyers. A single consistent service area is more transparent, more predictable, and more aligned with the intent of Idaho's impact fee statute. We ask the Commission to carefully consider the weight of these concerns. Housing affordability continues to be a top concern in Ada County, and the decisions made in this process will influence whether families are priced out of home ownership. We urge ACHD to adopt a system that is fair, legally sound, and supportive of a healthy housing market. Thank you for your time.
Next, we have Larry Bailey.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Laren Bailey. My address is 810 East Central Drive, Meridian, Idaho. And I'm here on behalf of Conger Group and BlackRock Homes today. I'm also on the board of the contractors of the building contractors of Southwest Idaho. Again, as Ken mentioned before, we recognize the importance of planning for growth in Ada County, and we support fair and lawful development impact fees that support the quality of our transportation system. But the proposal before you today raises some serious concerns for us, and I think they deserve careful consideration. First, we're glad to see the changes that were made, and again, we're just made aware of some of those today. But one of the issues that's come up is throughout this process that, we've pointed out some errors, our members have, different groups have pointed out errors. Errors were resolved again just today or within the last 24 hours. We're just concerned that maybe we need to take a step back, take a break for a minute, review the whole proposal again and make sure that the numbers are correct and we're all on the same page. It just seems like we're pushing hard and running fast, and maybe we're missing a few things. Second, I just want to talk about the two zones. Again, creating this east-west system seems very arbitrary and inequitable. Again, and I know we keep saying it creates winners and losers, but it does. It creates one side that's less expensive than the other. We don't think the history of how impact fees have gone on in Ada County supports that either. We feel like, in the past, I'm going to call it the areas outside of the city of Boise, supported Boise's growth and the roads constructed there. Boise's still the major draw. It's where most vehicle trips are going to end up, is in downtown. And so we feel like that should be spread evenly across the county. Last, I just want to point out, again, that we support impact fees. We think the numbers that have come out are closer to being fair and equitable. We're still concerned about the rise in housing costs and what, any raise in fee does to housing. So we just, again, just want to reiterate that we'd like to take a pause, have you take a step back and reevaluate everything to make sure that everything is correct. I think that's fair. I think it's the right thing to do. With that, I'll stand for any questions or sit down. Thanks.
That is everybody I had for in the audience. Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to testify? I did not have anybody online. Is there anybody online? Bree, fantastic.
Sorry, I forgot about the sign-up sheet. My name is Bree Brush. I am here on behalf of the City of Boise. President Gold, Commissioners, thank you for having us here today and allowing us to comment on this. I ask that you thoughtfully consider the proposed two-service area model ordinance 254A. We recognize the appeal of a single service area for regional flexibility and absolutely respect the concerns raised by our partner cities and the development community. However, our position is and always has been that growth should pay for growth, and the two-service area approach is the only model that achieves that while meeting the proportionality requirements placed on government subdivisions in Idaho's impact fee statute. I'll elevate two primary reasons for this, similar to what we disclosed in our letter previously. First, there is a clear, unavoidable disparity in our transportation network's needs demonstrated by the $1 billion in impact fee eligible costs for the west service area compared to $300 million for the east service area. And even as you look back, the analysis done by the consulting team over the last 10 years, still in the last 10 years, there were more needs in the west area than the east because that's where most of the growth has been. So we believe a single blended fee does not accurately reflect the largely built-out nature of half of the county. More critically, the higher fee set for the west simply quantifies the true necessary expense for right-of-way and new construction required to accommodate the growth patterns in the western half of the county, which includes parts of Boise. Second, the travel analysis conducted by ACHD staff and consulting team confirms that the transportation system can be logically divided for funding purposes, with 74% and 65% trip retention in the west and east, respectively. This demonstrates that new growth primarily burdens its immediate vicinity. The two-area approach accurately reflects this real-world travel behavior and ensures fees collected are commensurate with the cost generated in that specific area. We strongly encourage the Commission to approve Ordinance 254A. Regardless of your final decision, I hope we can acknowledge the financial implications of maintaining a single service area. If the Commission chooses to retain the single service area approach, all partners, cities, and the development community should be aware of the risk. If an unexpectedly large, high-priority growth project arises in the east that requires a significant draw from the single fund, potentially delaying projects in the west, we hope that all parties will support that funding decision, as the single fund will then be legally and equitably allocated to the highest countywide need. I'll close by thanking the Commission, staff, and consulting team that has worked for countless hours and now several years to get to this point. Regardless of the outcome, I think you can confidently say you had an exhaustive approach to this update, and we genuinely appreciate that. I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. All right, is there anybody else in person who would like to comment on this? No? And online?
Anybody online?
Great.
Ask staff. Sure. Question. Just
Sure. Okay. First, I'll close the public hearing. Thanks everybody who commented, and Commissioner Nielsen.
Yeah, just we had heard some testimony regarding the line that divides the two service areas and being described as arbitrary. Could you speak to that on technically how that line was drawn?
Yeah, Madam President, Commissioner Nielsen, for the record, Justin Lucas, Chief of Operations and Infrastructure at the Highway District. That line was not arbitrarily drawn. Data was used, travel data that our consultant was able to procure related to real travel patterns that are documented, both through the Compass process and Replica Data, which is a private company that produces this data set. The data is able to capture where and how far people are traveling, the types of trips that they're taking, and that is the type of data that we can use to establish if there are unique patterns in different geographic areas. The staff and the consultant looked at a lot of different service area scenarios, splitting the county in many different ways. In the end, based on the consultant recommendation, and staff concurred with this, we determined that either service area scenario presented to you tonight, the single service area or the two service area model, is consistent with state code and is supported by the data.
Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions for staff from other commissioners?
Madam President, I have a question.
Commissioner Pickering.
Yeah, thank you. I am very sympathetic to the costs, right? As we all live in this, none of us are massively wealthy, right? We all live in this community. We all know how costs are going up, not just from housing, but food and electricity, all of those things, and the impact that raising impact fees in either scenario, how that doesn't help the situation. But I was just wondering, Justin, how is there an ability for us to stagger this increase over like a multiple period of time, or do we just have to make a decision where it's just this one increase? Especially considering the fact that we can make updates, and does that put that at odds and giving us flexibility if we need to come back and revise something? But could you just give us some insight as to like the funding increase and obviously being sensitive to that?
Yeah, thank you, Madam President, Commissioner Pickering. So the fees that are proposed today are generated based on a formula. So we essentially take the projects that are needed based on the growth projections, calculate their cost, run them through a formula that takes into account various different variables, and then that projects the fee. So staff is unable to target a specific number. The way that the fee is able to be modified would be to reduce project costs within the plan, which means a projection of less projects being built over the 20-year period. So due to that due to that, the nature of creating the fee, there is really no way to phase it. If the commission wants a lower fee, staff would have to come back with a presentation with projects that we project will not be completed within the plan. I think it's important to note within the plan that actually several refinements have already been made related to that. The project costs within the plan, not all projects that are projected as needed are funded for construction within this plan. There are many projects that are listed as right-of-way preservation only, which allows us to preserve the right-of-way, but we're basically saying we are not going to be able to fund the construction based on the logical feasibility of this document. So those refinements have been made. I think they've been reflected very clearly in the plan. If there are further refinements like that the commission wishes to undertake, we can do that. But unfortunately, Commissioner, there's no really way to phase it in without defining the project cost that we are deciding to pay for, adopting a fee based on that cost, and then moving forward with that fee. That's kind of how the process works, if that answers your question.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff?
Madam President?
Commissioner McKinney?
Yes, thank you. Another question perhaps for Justin on this one. I think it would be helpful at this point in this hearing to kind of review the past history of impact fee increases, or really lack thereof, in recent years, so that everyone who's watching is aware of where we stand. That is to say, the impact fee increases that are being proposed today and what has happened over the past dozen or so years.
Madam President, Commissioner McKinney, so staff was able to perform that analysis, and we did provide that to you in a previous work session. Impact fees in 2012, which was a major update of the plan, that's also the time when ACHD moved from a multiple service area model to the single service area model, which has been in place since 2012. I'm going to give you, I can't off the top of my head, it's going to be hard for me to give a direct exact number, but I believe in 2012, the impact fees were around $2,900 or $3,000. So we'll have staff pull it up. They'll correct me as I go here, but I think in general, what I can say is that impact fees have not significantly increased over the years since 2012, and especially since the major inflationary cycle that we had as a national economy since 2020, impact fees have not been adjusted to reflect any of the project cost increases that we've seen. In separate presentations, we've also shown you the increase in project costs have been massive. In some categories, 50, 75%, 100% increases in some of our project cost categories. So what you're seeing today, as was presented by the staff, we didn't change any of the major policy decisions related to what's included or not as impact fee eligible. What you're seeing when it comes to the cost increase related to the fees is essentially directly related to the inflationary cycle of project cost. And so as the staff is looking in there, we're getting closer. I can't remember the percentage though. It was relatively low. I think it was within 10 or 15% of where we were back over the past 12 to 15 years. But we're working on it. You think we'll be able to find it, Edison? It's okay if we can't. Yeah, you know what, commissioners, you can go ahead and deliberate. If that's a key piece of information you'd like, we can probably extract that. We had presented it historically. We're sorry that we didn't have that available for you today. But I remember pretty clearly that the fee was essentially between $2,900 and where it is today at about $3,500 for the past many, many years.
Madam President, while they're doing that, I think it would also be helpful, because I think there was also some confusion about the process and how some folks assumed that this was a quick and dirty attempt at updating the CIP. So I think while you're up there, Justin, if you don't mind, Madam President, could you also give an update of like the timeline and the steps that you yourself and the team have communicated with partners and are land use agencies as well, and how, again, like this give and take is just part of the process.
Yeah, Commissioners, glad to do that. I can now respond to Commissioner McKinney's question. Ordinance 218 adopted in 2012, the impact fee, I'm giving you single service area fees because that's the only fee we had in place at that time, was $3,047 for a single family home. In 2014, we updated that. It was $3,071. 2016, it actually went down $2,904. That's the $2,900 that got stuck in my head. 2019, $3,073. 2020, $3,433. The last update, 2022, $3,493. So the impact fee has been within that $500 range, a little bit more than $3,000 since 2012. Speaking to the, thank you, Megan. Speaking to the process, and staff is, I'll be honest, we're really proud of this process. It's been, I think, well over 24 months since we started. The commission asked us to do a deep dive on every aspect of this process, looking at every major policy implication that not only the commission directed us to look at, but our CICAC, our Citizens Advisory Committee. We've had countless work sessions, hours and hours of discussion, draft documents out for public review. I note the errors, and there were a few here that we found. Commissioner Nilsen found one of them just the other day, and we appreciate that. I don't believe that those clerical errors represent a deficiency in this document. I take responsibility for those mistakes. I should have done a closer look. But for a spreadsheet of essentially a giant spreadsheet of this size, the complexity, the number of projects, the fact that we had a couple errors grabbed at the last moment, that doesn't give me the shakes at all. I'm proud of the document. I think the staff and the consultant have done a really good job. We've had a lot of robust discussions about the policy implications, including whether to include the existing travel lanes as part of the fee or not, and that was a topic at our last work session. So I think this is a comprehensive process, extremely public, with opportunities for any error or omission to be caught. Everything that has been brought up, we have caught, and we have made an adjustment to the document. So that's how I would describe the process, Commissioners. I hope that answers your question.
Madam President.
Commissioner Pickering.
Yeah, if there's no other comment, I mean, I'm willing to make a motion if that's okay.
Okay.
Madam President, I'll move to approve ordinance 254 in favor of the single service area ordinance.
I'll second that.
All right, there's a motion and a second.
Madam
Discussion.
President.
Commissioner Pickering. Mhm.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to build off of Justin's earlier point about the process. And I think for those of you that might not have tuned in earlier and why we went with a 2 service fee area option for public comment, was because we've been, at least I'm going to just say for myself, as a commissioner that's been on this commission for 5 years now, quite often from my constituency, my cities that I represent and work with, developers, businesses, they are constantly talking about how the impact fee ordinance, and ultimately, I think it's back to the state legislature, it doesn't offer the flexibility and the support needed for places in my district for that fee to be spent where that growth is being generated. And so I'm very sensitive to that. For an example, Garden City is never going to be eligible for an impact fee to be spent in that district. If you look at the map, there's no projects in Garden City. But you best believe all of that development that's happening down there is going into the impact fee kitty that goes to support other projects outside of that city. So that tension is very real. And so we've been hearing constantly about why we need to do a 2 service area option. And then my take from this process has been, there's definitely a few municipalities that are still in support of that. but several that originally had said that they were have changed their minds, which is totally acceptable. But I think that's the point of offering this up for public comment and a process so that we can daylight those opinions and beliefs and talk about the data and what the impacts are of that idea. And so I think throughout this process, there still remains some support for that 2-service area option, but in my mind, it's not enough. We're not seeing consistent support like we did previously in our conversations. And so I think like that's, you know, I'm not going to assign a value to that, but I think that that's what the public opinions and comments have showed us. And I'm willing to go forward with keep intact a single service area B zone and just continue to monitor the situation if things change. And I am very sympathetic to the city of Boise and all of the big work that's happening in Micron and needing to do the Lake Hazel extension and the cost that that's going to bring to the county and us. So anyway, that's why I made the motion and want to also echo my thanks to the incredible staff, Kittleson, all of the advisory committees that were in the trenches on this, that worked on it with us and gave us great feedback and direction and acting as a partner in this process. So thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Pickering.
Madam President.
Commissioner McKinney.
Yeah, let me just add, I think, and I'm in agreement that ordinance number 254 is the one to go with. 254A I would not support. The two zone proposal, actually, it's interesting. Listening to the comments from Bree from the city of Boise and their suggestion that having just one impact fee area county-wide doesn't help with financing large projects on the east side. Actually, I think the opposite is true. Having one service area allows the entire impact fee pot, so to speak, be available countywide anywhere that it's needed. Having multiple service areas does the opposite. It means that you have different pots for different parts of the county, and if you have a big project on one side or the other, it makes it harder to apply the fees to it. And let me just make a comment about the increase in the impact fees that's being proposed here. Part of the reason I wanted to ask that question for Justin Lucas to talk about kind of the history of impact fees is that there haven't been any significant changes in our impact fees since 2012, but there have been dramatic changes in property costs, housing costs, and so on. And the reality is that, you know, for those who want development to pay for itself, that is to say, let the financial resources of development be tapped to build the infrastructure, improve the infrastructure that the development requires, is absolutely supported by an increase in the impact fees. And the fact that they haven't been increased significantly in over 12 years, 13 years, strikes me as saying we haven't kept up anywhere near with the cost with inflation, both in real estate and development prices themselves, as well as construction costs and so on. And that's another important reason why I don't feel a great problem with allowing a significant increase at this point, simply because what we have done in the past hasn't reflected the reality of what's needed and the costs of infrastructure that are attributable to development. And for that reason, I'm in favor of ordinance 254. I would not vote for 254A, so I support the motion.
Commissioner McKinney. Commissioner Goldthorpe, did you have any comments?
I have actually commented quite a bit over the last few months on this, and so I'll keep it short. Concerning what Commissioner McKinney said, I'll just say like he said. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Goldthorpe. Commissioner Nelson.
Yeah, I'd like to make a substitute motion. It's in order. I would before I do so, I'll comment. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a total nerd, and I know transportation funding and land use. And I have to, in adopting or considering any plan, I really have to look at those patterns and what issues are on the horizon that we need to deal with. It's kind of the torture of a long-range planner. You see the future and you try to get there. I try to keep a countywide perspective, but I'm also elected, we're all elected by district. So I look at District 1 and we don't have anything for the first 5 years, but we have a major project, which Ms. Brush alluded to. So, and I'm also sensitive on the western part of District 1. It's kind of an orphan area of Ada County. There's no real advocates for projects there. And I feel very strongly that we need to really focus our efforts on the Lake Hazel extension. This is probably the last part of the network. It's probably been in the plan. I won't have you look it up, Justin, but probably at least the 30 years that I've lived in the Treasure Valley, that road has been identified. And now here we are, and we have major employment growth forecasted for that area. Listening to Commissioner McKinney, yeah, this is a really important need. I recognize the city is advancing planning work in that area, and I think we need to carry that momentum. But it all has to even out, all has to balance. So there's not so much winners and losers. I'd like to say everybody will win if we can stage the projects correctly. And so my substitute motion is to adopt Ordinance 254 with changes to the scheduling of specific projects, and I'll go through those. I would like to see Lake Hazel, Coal to Orchard Extension, and Lake Hazel Orchard Extension to Pleasant Valley, and Lake Hazel Pleasant Valley to the existing railroad be moved to the 2031 to 2035 timeframe. That's about $76 million of impact fee eligible costs. And then to move the following projects currently in 2031, 2035, move 2 projects, specifically Cloverdale, Columbia to Lake Hazel, and Cloverdale, Lake Hazel to Amity, move those to 2036 timeframe to 40. And then the following projects move to the 2041, the last 5 years. That would be Victory, Eagle to Cloverdale, Hubbard, Linder to State Highway 69, Amity, 5 Mile to Maple Grove, Amity, Eagle to Cloverdale, 5 Mile Lake Hazel to Amity, Linder, Hubbard to Columbia, Linder, Amity to Victory, 10 Mile Amity to Victory, Locust Grove, Hubbard to Columbia, 10 Mile Hubbard to Columbia, Victory, Locust Grove to Eagle, and Victory, Eagle to Cloverdale. And in looking at those specific segments with the data on the stress right now, and I don't like to make decisions wholly on the model, but to me, it is an indication of current stress versus future stress, which is what we're trying to alleviate through this investment plan. The best triage metric I have is the volume to capacity ratio. So the segments I chose to put further out in the program have a lower current stress on that segment than other segments, because I think we do need to focus on the areas where people who are here today are experiencing that stress versus people who haven't even moved here yet. So that was the logic of using that data to identify these segments. Because I think if we don't focus on the Lake Hazel extension, that part of Southwest Boise and a part of my district is perpetually going to have a terrible commute. Even with the employment in the eastern part of District 1, until we get Lake Hazel figured out and funded, we can try to put money at these other segments, but it's never going to be the best it could be if we don't focus on Lake Hazel. And once we have Lake Hazel done, we should be good for a long time. And that being said, I also want to, this may totally go down in flames, but it's my last pitch to try to finish the network, that east-western connection, also recognizing ITD is, and others are looking at other arterials across the region. And I think it's ACHD's responsibility to look at that last undone segment, east-west segment, in an area of explosive growth and particularly explosive employment growth. And I think Lake Hazel can serve as a real model of what that mobility corridor should be, that it should be designed and planned with transit in mind, and it can be a real showcase, new road, probably our last major big road for ACHD for many decades. So that is my substitute motion, and I'll leave it at that. We'll see if there's a second.
It's a substitute motion from Commissioner Nielsen. Is there a second? Okay, seeing none, motion dies for lack of a second. Well, back on the original motion then, I do want to echo some of the comments made from other commissioners. I do think this has been a really exhaustive process and that our team and our consultant team have done a phenomenal job on this deep dive effort. And I think that, you know, we've touched on some issues that obviously have strike interest from the community. We're responsive to concerns that we've been hearing. The desire is for growth to help pay for itself. And I think the increase in impact fee reflects that we haven't made that update in a long time. It's important to do that to reflect the overall cost of projects and the cost of inflation. And so I think it's important that we've done that work. It's important that we've asked the public and our partners to weigh in on the different service area options. And I appreciate Commissioner Nielsen's comments that I think that, the capital improvement plan is a working document. It's a long-range planning document. It's something that we can amend. It's something that we update every 4 years. And we can continue to look at the issues that she's raised and the other issues that were raised throughout this process. We can continue those discussions going forward. But I do think that it's important that we adopt this plan and really appreciate all of the work that has gone into it, and think that this is going to be a positive step. So with that, I'll call the question if there's no other comments from the commission. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, we've got 4 in favor and 1 opposed. Motion carries.
Madam President,
Commissioner Pickering.
I just want to thank my fellow commissioners. This was a very exhaustive process. I really appreciated how each of us had different opinions, had different perspectives, and we went through this process really civilly and respectfully with the shared goal of moving our transportation system forward in this new era. So I just want to genuinely say thank you for that good intention and being able to work as a commission in a time where I feel like tackling hard things is something that a lot of bodies of government tend to not do. So I just appreciate your willingness to do that and the fact that we've ended on consensus here today.
Yeah, thanks. That's a really great point, Commissioner Pickering. This endeavor was started with you as president, and we're still at it up until today. So I think we've done a wonderful job looking at all of these hard topics and reaching consensus. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Commissioner Nielsen.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone who really participated in the process. Not a whole lot of people take the time to dig in and write letters and really contemplate a capital improvement plan and the resulting impact fee. So I do want to thank everyone who testified today, everyone who wrote a letter, because but keep going. As President Gold said, this isn't the last conversation. I already made a speech about we got to keep these things updated on a much more frequent basis. And I know that will happen with this commission. And I just want to thank the staff for the extraordinary work. As Commissioner Pickering said, the rest of my commissioners for the civility and maybe difference of opinion, but I am satisfied that I know I'm right. I know my parents always taught me, you know, B or C really isn't acceptable. You have to shoot for the A+. So we'll get there. We'll get there. It'll take some time, but I want to thank my other commissioners.
Thanks, Commissioner Nelson. All right, well, no other comments from the commission on this item. We will move ahead to discussion items, and we've got public communication. So anybody in person or online who wish to address the commission, please come up to the podium. All right, seeing none, meeting is adjourned. We've got an executive session, then we'll see everybody back here next week. Thank you.
That was fun.